Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Western Spirit. Today, we'll be talking about a very, very controversial subject. Germany's Alternative for Germany Party, or the AfD, has gone from being a fringe Eurosceptic party to a force to be reckoned with in German politics, a force that is gaining more and more momentum as the new elections are coming to ahead in the next few days. And so, critics obviously call it a far-right party, a national populist movement. They say that it's flirting with extremism, with white supremacy, they see it as a voice against the establishment politics, and in a negative way. Supporters of the party obviously see it as much more national populist in the way of Donald Trump, against being as a bulwark against the establishment in terms of migration and other Euroscepticism, obviously. And so this is a party that is going to be talked about. Elon Musk spoke at their convention not too long ago. And so we want to understand, who is this party? What do they believe in? And should we be worried, or should we be actually excited for their success in the polls and in the new elections? They'll be coming up very, very shortly. So in order to talk about all this, we are going to talk with Beatrix von Storch. She's a German politician, a member of the Bundestag since 2017, as deputy chair of the AfD parliamentary group and commissioner for the fight against anti-Semitism. So she is a deputy of top leader of the AfD, the party in question, and she's a leader of the Committee Against Anti-Semitism, which is interesting for this party. And so it is an honor to talk with her and maybe through her understand where we're going. So I hope you enjoy our conversation. Beatrice von Storch, it's a pleasure to speak with you and have you on our show. And I think it's an important time to talk to you also because you guys are having an election and we're having this war here. So it's an important time in the world. So it's amazing that you found the time to talk to us, and I'm totally grateful.
Thank you for having me.
So, Beatrice, I want to get into like the more maybe uncomfortable subject first, and then we'll talk about what your plans are after the election with Germany and Israel. So, the first thing that when I spoke with people in Israel about speaking with you were, whoa, the AfD. We're so worried about the AfD. We hear from people that there's extremist elements in the AfD. People started sending me different things that people in the party have said in the past. How do you respond when people say this? When people have all these accusations against the AfD on the Jewish issue?
Well, they are blaming us to be anti-Semitic, for example. That's the easiest way to silence someone in
Yes.
Germany, because this is clearly something no one wants to be labeled as. And if you label someone as being anti-Semitic, you don't have to talk to them any longer. Those who are doing so, that's the same left, so-called anti-fascists, who call us anti-Semitics and Israel an apartheid state.
Yes.
So that's the same thing for them. They hate Netanyahu, I don't know, even more than us, at least as much as they hate us. And they hate Israel for the same reason. They hate the AfD because we've got clear stance on a nation state, on the right of self-defense, on border security issues, all kinds of things we have in common. And this is why they hate Israel and they hate us. And I think there's something else. We do not believe that Islam is primarily a religion of peace. So, and they, of course, think we have to take in even more Muslims as much as possible. I don't know for whatever reason, but we share, Israel and AfD shares most likely the opinion that Islam is not primarily a religion of peace.
Yes.
So, and this is why they blame us. This is why they fight us, and this is why they call us whatsoever to not go into arguments with us.
But is it true that the AfD has sort of like two factions within it in regards to Israel, for example? Because I remember when the war started here, one of the leaders of the AfD, I'll tell you, I just wrote down his name. What's his name? you probably know better than me. He said, speaking to the chancellor, he said that Germany needs to first of all stop giving weapons to Israel, and he, after October 7th, said that he could send condolences to both sides. So, and then I know there's people like you who are very supportive. So, how should we look at those discussions within your party?
No, we have got. I mean, you will find that in any country in the world, in any party in the world, that there's some people express their personal opinion. So that's okay. But we have got a political line for the party. And the political line for the party is that we do not look at Israel the same way we look to Ukraine, for example, when it comes to delivering weapons. For example, we have got a very common um, military work together. Sorry for my poor English.
No, it's okay.
With Israel, we exchange information which is of fundamental interest to Germany, for example, and we return this with, for example, delivering weapons. So this way of military cooperation is something completely different to other states, particularly when it comes to Ukraine. So we do not want to change that because it's for a vital interest of Germany.
Is it,
Um,
Beatrice, before you just continue, would we, after October 7th, there was a lot of, all over the world, but also in Germany, a lot of, especially the Islamic community, really came out in protest. Like, I'm originally from New York. We had where my aunt lives, next to NYU, all the universities, these like extremist encampments. And like you said, it was a sort of combination of people from the left, the progressives. They're not really progressive, but they call themselves progressive left, and the Islamist community, which were coming together to be against Israel and the Jews. And I think also you probably agree with me, to try to tear down the Western system. And they don't really say what they want instead of the West, but that's what they want. And so, is that the same dynamic in Germany that we saw after October 7th, where the left and the Islamists are joining together, sort of to be against the Jews in Israel?
100% yes. And we as AfD are addressing this already for a long time. We have seen that in the past, and it just, became worse after the 7th of October. So we always were addressing that the Muslim and the Islamists are working together closely with the far left, and that the German government is keeping funding all those organizations. They are not
Yes.
they are not going after them. They're not forbidding them. So it was us to, for example, address the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, which is a far left extremistic organization acting legally in Germany. So we came up, we made public that they were the ones behind some of those demonstrations you've seen past 7th October. And so we wanted to forbid those organizations and go against them. And I think this is a this is a problem we see in all the Western society, that the far left is working together very closely with the Islamists and Islam organizations. Probably they have got the same thing in mind, to tear down the Western civilization, the way it's running. And well, probably the far left is not aware of that if the whole country shifts then towards a Muslim country, they are unlikely to be treated better than others. But as well, when you're far left, you're kind of
Yeah.
stupid anyway.
Well, yeah, I just want to say about that, Beatrice, just to agree with you, that I had on our show Ayan Khirsi Ali, and one of the things that she said was, and I think it's so true, is that the Islamists have a plan after they tear down the system. Everybody knows what they want. The left, the extreme,
No plan.
they have no plan. They don't know what's going to happen, and when you don't have a plan, you'll get eaten by those who do. And so they're just tearing it down for the sake of tearing it down. They don't realize, like Queers for Palestine. It's like, it's like the queers. There are no queers in Palestine. Exactly. They're just outside. Yeah.
There's no need to make any further comment on
Yeah.
that. It's just so stupid.
Yes. So, Beatrice, just to close this issue, the what you are saying is that that Jews who look outside of Germany into Germany and see all the things that are being said about the AfD, you're saying there's no need to worry. The reason why we're being called basically all these names are just to delegitimize our positions, but there when we do see this, we take care of it. We try to make sure that people in our ranks aren't with these beliefs, right? That's I guess the gist of it.
Yes, and if you look again to those people who are dressing us that way, they are calling Israel an apartheid state. They are. It depends on whom you're asking. But even if you ask the running government, they are always in line when it comes to votes against Israel on the level of United Nations.
Yes.
So they're always in line with the Muslim majority and the majority of the countries of the United Nations, which are not, Western democracy and state of laws. So if you rely on their opinion, you're most likely wrong.
Yeah. Secondly, that I want to ask you is that the Israeli government, traditionally the foreign ministry in Israel, has pretty much boycotted the AfD throughout the years. I know that there's a few ministers that have gone individually to speak with people in the AfD, probably with you too. I know you have connections with people and friendships here. And we spoke before the recording about one of them, but how do you why do you think the Israeli government throughout the years, even the right in Israel, has been reluctant to speak, to give you to speak with, have a relationship with your party?
Well, as you just said, we are traveling to Israel. Our group in the parliament traveled to Israel. We talk to people. We talk also to officials, and we see behind the lines that they are very very much aware that the only party which is willing to talk and to cooperate with Israel, that's our party. And so we see the same thing here in Germany when it comes to, for example, Israel communities. The officials always, blaming us, but all the rest. Well, majority of normal Jews in Germany, they know what's the real threat to them, and it's not, right-wing populists, as they call us, when they're nice, or right-wing extremists when they're not so nice. They know that that's not a threat to their lives.
Mhm.
That's clearly coming from Muslim
And the
communities
left. Yeah.
and the left. Yes, there are some right-wing extremists, not in our alliance, not in our party. Not This is not what we have in mind. What we want to have is protect Jewish life in Germany, and it has never been unsafer than it's right now. And we can see that life in Hungary, for example, is much easier, is the safest for Jews in Europe. And the prime minister of Hungary, which is a close friend to Netanyahu, is
Hmm.
today, as we speak, receiving our head of the party, Alice Weidel. She's in Budapest at the very minute, and they will have a press conference together today. So a very close friend of Netanyahu is Orban, and Orban is inviting Alice Weidel today. So we can see that we have got something in line. Something is changing, and well, we do not care too much about what some officials say. We just work and show what we're really going for, and that will change.
So I want to ask you about something that you've been international, the AfD, because Elon Musk has spoken at your, I guess, conference of the party about a few weeks ago, and he. First of all, the fact that Elon Musk, who is now the richest man in the world, number one, number two is the entire US is now talking about all his cuts of US aid and all these other organizations, and the left really hates him in America, the right really loves him in America, but he's someone who everyone knows and everyone's talking about, and he found the time to speak with your conference. So I guess my first question is, why do you think, out of all the political parties in the world, the one party where he felt he needed to take the time off from his, I guess, unbelievably busy schedule, is to speak to you guys?
Well, I think what he figured out is that socialism and wokeism, it's a threat to Western civilization, and that what he is fighting. This is what the Trump administration is fighting, and they are looking for allies in the world. And when it comes to Germany, which is still an important country in the West, in the European Union, they realize that we are the ones in line with this idea. We want to fight wokeness. We want to fight socialism. We want to keep the nation state. We are proud of our countries. We are patriots, and this is what they also support as a general idea. And this is why they realize that we're close to the agenda of the Republicans. And so it makes perfect sense to get in touch and even to be supportive.
Hmm. And one of the things that became like this big issue was he said something during his speech about forgetting, leaving go of the past, and people read that to be something of like forgetting, the Reich and all that. How do you look at it in this whole controversy? Do you think there's any merit to it, or how should we look at it from here?
No, so look, the AfD party never argued against the memory. The first event ever we made when we joined the parliament in 2017, we invited Rabbi Chaim Roswatsky to speak in front of all our members of parliament. Roswatsky was a Holocaust survivor, and he talked about his memory of his persecution of the Jews during the World War. And so was basically the opening of our acting in the parliament. We never argued against the memory, but we think that we cannot keep it that way to only focus on this. And a country, a healthy country has to be, looking also to the future and addressing their state in a positive way, without forgetting what we did bad in the past, but also going forward and have a positive look on ourselves. You cannot self-define yourself only by
Past transgressions, yeah.
yes. So and this is what he expressed. I think this is what he expressed, and I think he's right.
So you don't think that what they were implying was that he was saying, "Forget everything. We don't have any like."
No,
There's like no.
no, no.
That's a different thing. That's
He
not what
he
he's
was
saying.
just no. So the one thing is to memory, and the other one is what he's going against is the instrumentalization of
Hmm.
this memory by the political left, and this is what they're doing, and they try to stop us from being a political party, from being able to act on the political in the political
Yeah.
area due to this attack.
So one of the things that populist or national parties all over Europe and the UK obviously went through with it was to leave the EU. And so, how does AfD look at the EU? Because it seems to me that it's a sort of anti-national movement organization where it's controlling out of Brussels a lot of the policies in the individual countries that are part of the EU. Well, and Germany, I think, contributes like an extreme amount of money into the organization compared to other countries. So, how do you square that? What does the platform of the AfD say about the EU?
So the idea of the AfD when it comes to the European Union, we are in favor of a deeper cooperation in Europe. That's very reasonable. What we are going against is we want to have it as a confederation of independent national states with a common market. This is what
Mm,
we want to. What we do not want and what we're horrified by is to have the ever closer union, which ends up in a nation state. So giving up our national sovereignty and then come to one melted, the ever closer union. Its aim is to be a nation state
yeah.
in the long run. And then they try to make the whole continent climate neutral, common debts, transfer billions to all the other states. and to stop the border control,
Yes.
secure our borders is an idea what is not practiced by this European Union. This is what we are going against. But what we have in our program is that we want to have a deep cooperation when it comes to trade, when it comes to the market, a common market. This is what we think. This is in our common interest.
So, with the border, are you sympathetic? Would you want Germany to do what Trump is trying to do, mass deportations of people who came into illegally into, for example, Germany through the EU open borders? Would that be something that if the let's say, I know that it's improbable because of the political situation of Alice becoming the chancellor, but if she was, would it be a policy of the AfD to mass, um, kick people out en masse who over the years came in illegally?
Yes, the short answer is yes, but you have to explain. This only means that we, keep up our laws and that we execute our laws. They are illegally in our country, so who's illegally in our country has to leave. That's the law. So we just want to have a law-abiding state, and accepting all those illegals, living in our country and then paying them off at the same time, it makes no sense to us. And we do not think that we are obliged to do this for nothing we've done in the past. No one can force us to take
Yeah.
in millions and millions of people which are not here on a legal basis. So very clear, yes.
And also, one of the things about immigration is that it should be to make the country where they're coming into better. And so, especially, you want people that will, for example, have degrees and make the economy, grow. And instead, most of these people are uneducated from cultures where, Syria and all these other places. It's very problematic.
Well, I think this debate has to be a bit more specific,
Hmm.
because you've got two different ways of coming to, for example, to Germany or to some other countries. The ones are asylum seekers, so they're seeking help because they're persecuted in their countries. There's a war, there's a civil war whatsoever. So they seek asylum, and if someone seeks asylum, you don't pick them by, are you qualified for anything?
Right.
No, you help. This is the one thing. And all those people coming to Germany, they are seeking asylum one way or the other. So this is the way we're keeping them in. And we say we cannot, stop anyone from entering our country because they're all in need. And then what they do is they shift them over and declare them to be migrants. Migrants are people who are, on a voluntary basis are leaving their country, their home state, and looking for some other place in the world to live at, and trying to find a different spot. And this is the moment when it comes to migrants, we have to pick who
Yes.
fits into our society, who can provide with labor and whatsoever money, and be part of our
Skilled.
society.
Yeah.
We're looking for skilled workers, and that's something completely different. And this is all getting melted up and all
Yeah.
put together, and that makes absolutely no sense. What we say, yes, we need some skilled workers, but most likely we don't find them in Pakistan and Nigeria, but rather in maybe in South Korea or Japan.
Yes, exactly. And also, I would say about the asylum thing is that, I don't want to get into it too much, but according to most of the asylum scholars, you can claim asylum at the nearest safest country, and a lot of them are instead hopping up in America too. You'll have people from El Salvador, instead of going to Mexico, they'll go through Mexico into the U.S., claim asylum. They should have claimed it in Mexico. That's what Trump, for example, is saying. So it's very complicated, but there are ways for Western countries to, without borders and choosing who comes in. You're not a country, basically, I think. And so, yeah.
This is very clear. And when it comes to that point, it's in Germany, I don't know, but in Germany it's even clearer. In 1993 there was a two-thirds majority in the German parliament to change our constitution, and to make clear that anybody who's trying to reach Germany from a safe country they will not be let into our country. We changed our constitution and made it very clear, Article 16A, for anybody who wants to check, saying that if you come from a safe country, you cannot claim asylum in Germany. And as Germany is surrounded by safe countries, that means anybody, who's coming from
Yeah,
Austria or from Denmark, he cannot claim asylum because in the countries where they are, they're not persecuted. They're not fleeing any longer. They're migrants.
yes.
No longer asylum seekers, but migrants. And we have to pick the migrants we want to let in to our country.
Exactly. Okay. So I want to ask you a very interesting question, which I thought about before, which is I'll just give you a few. Germany itself, through its foreign ministry, transfers millions of euros every year to organizations in Israel, some of which are involved in stirring obvious internal political conflict because they support left-wing organizations, usually left-wing organizations in Israel. Some of the organizations they support are what we call, human right organizations, and I put that in quotes, who basically a lot of them entire idea for even existing is to, at least here, is to show how bad Israel is and how what we're doing is so disgusting and mean and not humane. And so Germany is, I just saw from one of the estimates was 48 billion euros over, I think, the last 20 years. I could send that to you, but a lot of money depending on how you check it. Do you think, does the AFD, and do you specifically support, I guess, stopping that, or at least checking where it's going and making it a lot more difficult to get German taxpayer money to do political stuff in other countries?
Absolutely, yes. And I can prove that when we came to the parliament, one of the first things, or at least in the very beginning of AfD in the parliament, we tabled a motion to stop, for example, financing UNRWA.
Yes.
We figured out, by the help of Israel Friends, we figured out what were the real numbers of money which Germany, on a bilateral basis, was giving to UNRWA, not on the European level. There's something on top, but what we found out is that Germany started off with paying somewhat like 2 million for UNRWA, and then in the years it came up to 80 million per year on a
Wow.
bilateral matter. Um, and we were addressing that. We were claiming to stop funding the enemies of our friends in their own country.
Yes.
At the same time, of course, defunding those organizations acting in Germany against the interest of our interests and the interests of the Jews, a common interest. And so we had this all over. We were the ones to address Hezbollah, and wanted to have it forbidden as an organization and declared it to be a terroristic organization, which has not been the case until we came up with that idea. And now, after we tabled the motion, after we tabled this idea, of course, the whole parliament voted against it, and basically half a year later, they were forced to come up with their own proposal to forbid Hezbollah and declare Hezbollah a terroristic organization, which it has not been in the past. So Hezbollah could act legally in
Hmm.
Germany, collect, money, and to do all kind of stuff.
So right now, but I know Germany, if I remember correctly, reinstated the money, at least some of it that they're giving to UNRWA, right? As of now.
Absolutely. They only stopped, I would say, for a few days after the
Yes.
7th of October. And then they did it again, and they even did it. And we had interesting talks in the parliament about it with officials from the Israeli government sitting next to the German members of government. And I asked the question, look, they are asking us to stop funding UNRWA. Why are you still doing so? And the answer is,
We know better.
because
Yeah.
we know better. We don't care what they say. We think it's right to do so, and we know clearly where the money goes, and so this is why we keep up funding them.
Yeah. One other question is also, uh, um, President Trump, if I remember correctly, in his first term, signed the Taylor Force Act, which is saying that in Israel, the terrorists that are being caught are getting money. The more money they kill Jews and Israelis and whoever, they get more money stipend from the Palestinian Authority. And President Trump said that all federal funds of the U.S. that goes to the Palestinian Authority will be stopped or at least somewhat curtailed as long as they continue paying. It's called pay for blood. So the more you kill, the more you get. Would that be something that you would support as a party, to stop paying money as long as they give money to terrorists?
I mean, what should not there should not be a need to ask those kind
Yes,
of questions. I mean, it's
exactly.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We're paying taxpayers' money, and there has been, I think, just yesterday. At least I read it yesterday, and in the Bild. So it's a it's a very popular newspaper
Newspaper.
here. And they came up and they published a number I have not known so far, and that was like that it's not only Hamas paying those
Right.
rents
The
for
Palestinian
terror.
Authority is.
It's the PLO.
Yeah.
And so they came up with a number, and it was close to, I think, in the last few years, so from 2021 or 2022 till the beginning of 2024, so two years, maybe a bit more, the European Union paid 1.1 billion to the Palestinian Authority, even though they are paying those
Yes.
rents for terror. How do you claim? What's the correct name?
Pay for slay.
Pay for slay.
Yes.
I mean, I don't. Sometimes I don't get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do not understand what's ongoing. How can one support those organizations with €1, or €2, but it's 1.1 or 2 billion euros, knowing that they are using the money to fund themselves and to pay for slay.
Yes.
I mean,
It's
what can I
unbelievable.
say?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think also about now we in Israel, we are, we're recording this on Wednesday. I guess we'll put this up in the beginning of next week, but we are recording as we don't know where the ceasefire is going to go. Hamas is refusing to release the hostages. President Trump has said they should release all the hostages by Saturday. Israel is now building up forces at the border back. My friends are being called up to reserves. But do you agree? I guess my first question would be with President Trump's proposal that the Gazans should leave Gaza. That would be everybody said, oh, it's a crazy proposal. Like everything we were doing until now was so normal. So what do you think about it?
I I think that's very difficult because I mean, Gaza has been proposed to Egypt. I mean, no one wants to
Yes,
have that place on earth because they don't want to have the people. So
exactly.
it's the Egypts don't want to take the people. Jordans don't want to take all of the people. Basically, no one wants to have those people. Um, and I don't know whether that's a solution if there's no place for them to go. And I think it's a very difficult situation, and I hope there will be an outcome. But as long as you define yourself as the ones to, if you claim to kill all the Jews and swipe Israel out of from the landscape, it's very hard to have
Yeah,
a to build a compromise on that line. Okay, we only kill half of them, and then you're happy. Okay, no, I mean, this is nothing you can um argue on. And I think this is the problem, and I don't know what the outcome is. The stance for AfD on this point is very clear. We are probably not the ones to solve the problem down there. The only thing which is very clear for us, we as a German nation do not take them into our country. I'm
yes.
sorry.
You mean, so what happened was is that at least some of the other during the years they took you guys took in Syrians and all these Angela Merkel during the Syrian civil war took in I think 1 million Syrians, right?
Yes, close to, yes.
So where are those Syrians now? They're still in Germany, right?
They
Most
have
of them.
they fled from Assad. This is what they said, at least. Then they celebrated the fall of Assad in the German streets.
Hmm.
But still, after the fall of Assad, they want to stay in Germany.
It's
So
much
I
more
wonder why.
comfortable. It's much more comfortable in Germany.
Yeah, and what they say is, look, our country has been destroyed. And so I probably they expect the German workers, to go over to Syria, build up the country, and when everything, meanwhile, they are staying here in Germany and enjoy their lives. And when then Syria has been built up again, then they can remove to everything
Yeah.
once it is fixed. That's not so
That's the
much.
logic. Oh,
Yeah, that's not so much what we are supportive of. They fled Assad. Assad has fallen, so
let them
they
go
have to go
back.
home.
Yeah, Beatrice, last question, which I think is interesting, and I want to go back. I just thought about, like, as we're talking, is you mentioned in the beginning the fact that you and Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all these new figures, relatively new types of figures on the political scene, including your party, really find the woke, you called it, a danger to Western civilization. And so I wanted to maybe explore that with you. One of the things that I considered woke, I think on the basic level, is that any discrepancy of outcome means that there's something wrong. So if, let's say, there's more white people in a certain position, means it automatically means they're racism. If one side is stronger than the other side, I'll take that just to Israel. If the Israelis have a stronger military than the Palestinians, automatically the Palestinians are being discriminated against or whatever. Or if Germany is stronger than whoever, than a Middle Eastern country, automatically Germany must give in to whoever comes in, etc., etc. So I guess do you agree with me that the main point of wokeism, at least in its core values, is that no matter what, if there's any discrepancy of the outcome, it means there's some discrimination, or there's more to it? You think?
I would say I would rather say the main goal of wokeism is to destroy the human beings
Yeah.
the way they are. They want to distract them from being human beings. They do not accept the human nature, I would say, because they do not accept God.
Yes.
They say that every human being can decide whatsoever they are. So this is a German topic we have at the very moment. You can decide your own sex. You can
Yes.
decide your own gender.
Hmm.
Um, and this is physically, biologically, chemically impossible. But they say whenever you wish to change your gender, the wish comes to reality, and then you have changed your gender, and the society have to accept. This is it really comes to a very very basic moment of what the human being
Yes.
is from its nature. And so they want to destroy the nature of a human being. They want to destroy the families. They want to separate kids from their
Yes.
parents. They do not believe in the fact that it needs one man and one woman to have a baby, to have a child. So I think it's much more profound than that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
this is why they are so dangerous. And this is why it's specifically very dangerous for kids. And
Yes.
this is why a normal person just hates it and wants to stop them. And I'm very, very happy, thanks to God, that Donald Trump has been elected as president of the United States.
Beatrice, he said now in an executive order that there's one man and one woman. That's his official position of the United States of America right now. So
No,
he agrees
but
with
well,
you.
even this debate,
It's so
he
stupid.
says it's just a matter of fact. So
Yes.
they made us already. They get us into the debate about
Mhm.
are there more than two genders? No, there are not.
Yes.
And they say, yes, but we believe they are. It's not a question of belief, it's a question of facts. You cannot have, you can believe whatever you want, but it doesn't change the fact that there are two genders.
Beatrice, can I just ask you one last thing because I work at an economic newspaper? What are your opinions at the AfD about, or your specifically, whoever you want to talk about the Trump threatening tariffs also on the EU and Germany as part of the EU?
Well, this is, of course, a threat to our economy, very clear. So I have to make 2 points. First, we support Donald Trump. Second, we know that Donald Trump has not been elected to support German interests. So, third, we would like to have a German government to fight for German interests, and then we have to come into make a deal whatsoever with the Americans to look how we can, balance our trade, our trade. Unbalanced trade is always bad. So how do we balance the trade between our countries? This is what we have to come up with. And this is very clear that what the United States is doing, they are trying to fight for the American worker, for the American economy, and they had a unbalanced trade, and that produced a lot of problems. And he wants to fix that. He's right to try to fix it, and we need a government who's trying to negotiate the best deal for both sides.
It's very weird, by the way, that when Trump's first term, the whole European, I remember Angela Merkel, your former chancellor, like smirking at him and looking at him like he's a disgusting character, and all these funny pictures where she can't like take it and everything. And now the world is changing in a way that people are accepting that his ideas aren't just a one-time thing. And it's all over the world. And a lot of the people in your party and in other parties all over Europe too are trying to emulate this sort of populist, and also I think nation state, people that believe in a nationality, and that it's not an embarrassing thing or something to be ashamed of, that you're patriotic. And I think we should, and that way we could all have cooperation through our own countries. So Beatrix von Storch, I hope I said that right. It was a
Correct.
pleasure talking to you. And I think that people in Israel should know more about the AfD and not just hear from, sources that aren't necessarily objective. Let's put it that way. And so I appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Western Spirit podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. See you next time.